Hadn't been to the doctor in more than 10 years. No history of high blood pressure because he felt fine. And then one morning, he woke up, tried to walk, stumbled in the bedroom, fell to the ground. Because I have seen this movie play out over and over. Welcome to your daily health briefing. I'm Dr. Albert Tackett. This show is here to help you navigate the complex U.S. medical system, one step at a time. Whether you are decoding a new diagnosis, fighting for a referral, or just trying to stay informed, you are in the right place. Let's get into the science. I had a clinical encounter this week that broke my heart. A new patient came to see me. Chad, 51 years old, black guy, healthy. Hadn't been to the doctor in more than 10 years. No history of high blood pressure because he felt fine. And then one morning, he woke up, tried to walk, stumbled in the bedroom, fell to the ground. His fiancée called the ambulance. And before Chad even opened his mouth to tell me the story, I knew exactly what had happened because I have seen this movie play out over and over. So let me tell you a little bit more about this patient. Right? As I walked into the room, I see him sitting in a wheelchair, and it's quite jarring because this is a guy who's young, tall, big, looks like in another life he was an NFL lineman, and has a strap around his waist that helps him not fall when he walks. And next to him is his girlfriend, and I asked the story. So the girlfriend tells me that they just got discharged from rehab after a 2-week stay in rehab. And so I proceeded to ask, what happened? And this is where I knew what was coming, even before he said it. But the story goes that he had not been to the doctor for more than 10 years. He was busy with work and had other things going on in his life. And he felt that because he was a former athlete, he was overall healthy. He used to work out. But let me tell you what broke me, because I felt it coming when I asked him, why didn't you go to the doctor? He gave me the classic answer. I did not want to hear bad news, but bad news found him all the same. And this is a guy who thought he was doing everything right. He wasn't negligent. He was just misinformed. And misinformation is dangerous because he said the one thing that changes everything for people over and over. I felt fine and did not want to go to the doctor because I didn't want to hear bad news. And coincidentally, as fate will have it, while he was sitting in the lobby with his girlfriend, they were watching one of my podcast episodes where I talk about another patient, just like him, just 3 years older than him, who also failed to recognize the dangers of high blood pressure and wound up with a stroke. And as I started recounting the story of this other patient, both he and his girlfriend said, "Oh, is that the person you were talking about on the TV in the lobby?" And it even broke my heart more because it is also preventable. Chad almost lost his life. He went to the hospital and they found out that he was bleeding in the brain, a hypertensive cerebral hemorrhage. And the bleeding was so bad that he had something called an early brain herniation. So there was so much blood in the brain that it was pushing part of the brain out of its natural position. And this can be quickly fatal. It can quickly kill you or put you in a coma for the rest of your life. And so what happened, he had to be rushed immediately to the OR, and neurosurgeons did a craniotomy, that is a cut through the skull, to extract that blood. And that is how they saved his life. Now let's delve a little bit into the science and see why high blood pressure is so dangerous and why that statement, "I feel fine," is a worse silent killer than high blood pressure itself, which is the quintessential silent killer, right? So, because I've long said to my patients, and if you've been my patient for a while, you must have heard me say this before, the most dangerous symptom of high blood pressure is silence. High blood pressure does not speak until it is too late. It will manifest with heart failure. It will manifest with kidney failure. It will manifest with a stroke or a heart attack. But for the longest time, it does not speak. That's why it gets ignored. That's why people say they feel fine. Brothers and sisters, if there is anything you want to be careful of, it's your blood pressure. Why? Because it is very, very prevalent in society. We talk about high blood pressure all the time because people have it all the time. Think about this. Black people have the highest prevalence of high blood pressure. Over 50% of black people over age 50 have high blood pressure. Can you believe that? But other racial groups are not too far behind. High blood pressure prevalence is high amongst white Americans, amongst Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, and so forth. It is a very, very prevalent disease, and it is responsible for a lot of mortality and morbidity. And if you don't know that word, it means sickness. And the other thing is that high blood pressure is an equal opportunity employer. It doesn't discriminate amongst people. You cannot see somebody and say they have high blood pressure. I'm always reminded when I talk to my patients and they tell me, "Hey doc, I know I have high blood pressure, but I don't want to take any medicine. Can I just go work out, eat right, and then we'll see how it goes?" And I always tell them, yeah, you can do that. That is always the first treatment of high blood pressure, in addition to taking your medicines. But remember, if that was the case, if we could just fix high blood pressure with diet and exercise, most people will not be taking medications. Because guess what? Your doctor speaking to you right now, I work out, I eat right, at least I try on most days, but I still have high blood pressure. I take my medicine. If you've been with me in the consultation room, you will hear my phone alarm go off at 9 a.m. every day. It's my reminder to take my blood pressure pill. Because diet, exercise, all of that is great, but it does not fix aging arteries. So that is the science. That is the reason why intracranial hypertension happens when we ignore blood pressure. 56% of all intracerebral hemorrhages, that is, bleeding in the brain, are caused by high blood pressure. And these intracranial cerebral hemorrhages carry a 30 to 40% mortality. That is, it kills people 30 to 40% of the time. And as I said earlier, black patients have the highest prevalence of high blood pressure, and we suffer the worst consequences from uncontrolled high blood pressure. These are facts. They are undeniable. And so, you ask me now, Dr. Takem, I heard this. I heard you. You terrified me. What has that got to do with me? I'm not Chad. I am not your other patient. Well, dear friend, there was a day Chad was not my patient. There was a day the other patient was also not my patient. They were with doctors who maybe failed to hammer upon them the importance of taking their blood pressure medication, the importance of compliance with treatment. Because let's face it, doctors are busy. We're rushing all the time from one patient to the next. And sometimes a patient says, well, I don't want to take the medicine. And the doctor says, well, okay, that's your problem, off to the next. But that's not what we do here. Because a physician and patient have to build an allyship destined to protect the patient from the harms of medications, but give them the full benefits of medications. A doctor has to take the time, especially a primary care doctor, to sit down with the patient and impart upon them the importance of medication compliance, the dangers of high blood pressure. Otherwise, what's the point of being a doctor? Patients do not know medicine. Yes, I know a lot of patients think that by Googling their symptoms or looking up in ChatGPT, they become doctors. But I encourage patients to look up their symptoms. I encourage them to look up medication and side effects. But I encourage them even more to bring their questions and findings to a doctor so he can interpret them for their own safety. And this is where we doctors have to earn our money. This is where we earn the patient's trust, because we must develop the courage to show the patient where they're erring and show them where they are right. But we have at all times put the patient's safety above our own discomfort in contradicting the patient. That is what a good doctor has to do. Now, if you are not receiving that kind of care in this medical group, you tell us. We have suggestion boxes all over the clinic for your input. But this is what a real relationship with a doctor ought to look like, so that we don't have Chads and Kevins and Derricks who wind up in the hospital with a hemorrhagic stroke. This is not about fear. It is not about medical terror. It is about prevention. So, if you remember anything from this episode, number 1, make sure you check your blood pressure. Number 2, make sure you prioritize the time you take to go to a doctor. Number 3, do not let the busyness of life take over the priority of your health care. Because guess what? Chad was busy with all these other things, including his job, but now he can't work. And guess what his job is going to do? You'll find another truck driver to take over. Because that is how the story goes. And on this note, I will end this episode. I hope you will find this and send it to someone you know who has not been to the doctor in a long time. Ask them to go get checked, especially if they have health insurance. Because I always tell patients, if you have health insurance and you do not go to a doctor, you are like a man who bought an expensive Ferrari, parked it in his garage, and never drove it. It's an absolute waste of money. I will see you next episode, because your care doesn't stop here. This has been the Daily Brief. Medicine is not about certainty. It is about responsibility. Decisions are often made with incomplete information, but they are always made with your safety in mind. In a system that can feel rushed and fragmented, you deserve clarity, continuity, and an advocate who sees the whole picture. I am Dr. Albert Taken, your physician ally, high-level science, human-level care. I will see you at the next briefing, or I will see you in the clinic.